Hey, I'm Dave.
And I'm Mike.
And I'm Dan.
And we're the Nfgeeks.
That's right. And Dan, welcome back.
It's good to be here, Mike.
That's right, to join us for another video. And gentlemen, what are we going to talk about in these videos? What could possibly be the topic?
I don't know, Dan. What do we usually talk about?
Ideal matches.
Yeah, actually, that is what we always talk about. We're actually talking about the Myers-Briggs, and right, as Dan said, we're going to be talking about, in light of Valentine's Day coming up, what we think some ideal matches are for ourselves, for our own types, for NFs, and for maybe some of the other types as well, and what are the different theories about that. So first, I'll begin. I'm going to confess, and Dan knows this, and I talked about this a little bit, Dave, but I actually date, believe it or not, women. Again, a miracle.
No.
And, yeah, it's true.
Oh, man.
And I actually use the Myers-Briggs all the time, and I actually make my dates take the Myers-Briggs to find out their types. And I actually select and reject various dates based on the Myers-Briggs type. So I am actually actively using this as a filtering system, and I have all sorts of thoughts about that. But so let's start off with you guys. First of all, do you have any opinion either way about what matches with what, or what are your feelings?
Well, I have to say, I don't think that the matching just is in, let's say, sexual, relationships that involve, romantic and relationships. I think it also goes into, friendship.
Yeah, I agree.
I can tell you my friendship with, let's say, an ISTJ or an INTP. They're very solid, stable, long friendships, and I always get along with those personality types. I haven't met an INTP or an ISTJ, which I have not gotten along with.
That's right.
As an ENFJ, those are two of the what I understand the good matches for an ENFJ, and those friendships are always very, very good.
I agree. Dave, what do you think?
What my ideal matches would be?
Or
just my experience?
Yeah.
I feel I've always gotten along with NFs and NTs pretty well. SPs, I've always had, like Dan, solid friendships with them. SJs, anyone my age that's an SJ, I seem to get along with. Any older SJs, not so much, I find. But yeah, I seem to get along with pretty much anyone, really. Everyone seems to like me. I have very few enemies. And the enemies I do have, they know who they are.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk. Well, first of all, let me say this, and so I'm just going to admit my biasness. When I do my screening, I toss out the SJs.
Oh.
Yes, I have tossed out many an SJ. Yeah, it's true. Honestly, it's for their benefit too. They're not going to think me as being entertaining and charming and witty. They're going to see me as a slacker and underachiever, and they are not going to be impressed. It's for their own benefit too. I'm not their match either, so it's for everyone's happy. Truthfully, okay. So what I want to talk about, actually, first of all, start off with both of you, is the Socionics page lists various degrees of matches, and they claim that the best match for your Myers-Briggs type, or their version of the Myers-Briggs, is when you share the last function, but the other three are different. Okay, so for example, Dan, and you actually mentioned this, for you, your ideal match, according to the Socionics, is an ISTJ, as an ENFJ. Yours is an ESTJ. Now, I want to know, what do you think of that? Does that resonate with you? Could you see yourself either in some kind of relationship? Think of it even romantically or intimately. Could you be in a romantic, intimate relationship with an ISTJ or an ESTJ?
Well, I know my friendships with ISTJs are very, very good friendships. We get along very well. We can communicate effectively.
Sure. And,
it's stable, and there's communication, and there's dialogue. And I find that that's good in a friendship. It's not like it's just like one person controls everything. It's actually each side really discusses, and really, you get to know them very well, I think. So, with ISTJs and myself as an ENFJ.
Yeah, Noah loves you. He's an
ISTJ. For me, I find that any SJ friend I have is very protective of me, which I really enjoy. I could use the protection.
I have to agree. SJs, especially ISTJs, they'll do like anything to help you out. I mean, it's amazing. They're always really there, which is a very, very, positive attribute they have.
Yeah, one of my best friends is an ISFJ, and he's very, very loyal and protective and dependable, and I can count on him for anything.
Now, would you date an ESTJ? Would you go
ESTJ?
out with an ESTJ woman?
No.
Okay, now why not? Because
Granted, they may be my perfect match, but
well, are they? That's my question.
well, they're supposed to be according to what was it, the Socionics?
Yeah.
That to make a pop culture reference, that would be like the same dynamic as the main character in I Heart Huckabees and his other.
Yeah.
Right.
That's right.
Which that's a pretty cool dynamic, It's hard to say, it's hard to have like hypothetical love and all that stuff, but
Not if you're an NF.
I don't know.
It's all hypothetical.
Is it really? Is it really all hypothetical?
Yes.
It's in a metaphysical point.
There you go. There, 2 NFs. What? You gonna argue with NFs?
Yes. We've been doing it anyway.
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, no, I
well,
feel like I wouldn't limit myself to it if the opportunity presented itself, I would take it. But if I was choosing, I wouldn't necessarily pick an ESTJ.
Well, I understand your reservations because according to the Socionics, mine is an ISTP, and first of all, I've never even met a female ISTP. Do they even exist? One, I went. So there's that.
They're all flying fighter jets, man.
Yeah, apparently. But secondly, is that the ISTP seems so different and so alien because we know the three of us we have an ISTP, friend,
Yeah.
And although I do love him and he seems to have affection for me no matter what, he really does. At the same time I don't know how that match would even find each other, let alone maintain itself. Although that's kind of what the Socionics says. So it's a real mystery for me. But honestly, I've never even met an ISTP woman. I don't even know if they exist. So if you exist, ISTP woman, now I'm going to do the Dave comment because God, I'm fast. I want to know if this is real.
We'll leave your email in the description as well.
Yes.
I think that what I've experienced. I've actually met very few IS women. Like I haven't met many at all. Typically most women are either like NTs or NFs that I meet. I haven't met that many SJ women, but IS women specifically.
All right. Well, comment on this. The Keirsey people who also do a version of the Temperaments, and they're the ones who do the idealists, the rationalists, the guardians. They would place the second letter as the primary letter, and that actually makes sense to me a little bit. And so for Dan, from their point of view, your primary match would be an INTP. What experiences have you had with INTP?
Well, Android.
And would you agree?
Well, Android.
Hey, Mr. Data.
You wrote.
Mr. Data.
Yeah, Mr. Data. Yep.
Yeah.
He's very I've known him since I was 5 years old.
Yes.
I mean, it's a friendship which has existed for more than a decade, and I mean it's my best friendship. He's my best friend, and we get along really well. We understand each other. We communicate very well, but we're both different in the same way. He's introverted. He's much more of a thinker. He's into things that I'm into as well, like different topics, things like that. But he takes it from a different perspective. He's much more of the theoretical, what's behind this, what's this involved, and I'm much more of the what can we do with it, type of thing.
Yeah.
Like I want to get out there and do something with it. Where he's like, much more thinking about it, but he still wants to do something. He's much more on the processing and thinking side of it.
So then you would agree with that match as well, an INTP match.
Oh yes.
So you would date an android.
Yes, I would.
Gladly.
Yes.
All right, Dave. What about you? The Keirsey people would say an ENTP is your ideal.
Doc Brown.
That's right.
I would love to date Doc Brown. Female Doc Browns. Comments.
In a lab coat with like goggles.
Oh, with the crazy hair and DeLorean.
In a lab,
Yes.
with beakers and.
Oh man. Key to my heart. It's just wacky experiments. Yes, that would be fantastic. Making a time machine out of a car.
Yeah.
Genius. Yes.
Well, mine for the Keirsey is and you're going to have a big laugh, of course, at this, is the INTJ. And we laugh because we know INTJs. But honestly, they're male, and I love our male INTJs. Dan's brother is an INTJ.
Mr. Spock.
That's right. And I always loved Mr. Spock. I talked about that. I had a whole thing with Mr. Spock on that. But again, this is another weird one. Like, INTJ women, where are they? I knew one. I went in my PhD program that I'm in. There was one, and she was hot too. But I blew it, with that one. But those are the only one I ever met. It seems so. I'm not sure how it would work because it seems to be a very rare thing to find. But I do like the INTJs that both your brother and the other INTJ we know. I like them both very much. So I could see how that would work as well. I think I could bring them out of their dark tunnel, their dark world that they live in.
Yeah.
But, all right. Now, is there any let's talk about our NF types. Because one thing about NFs are notoriously the most incestuous of the types. And look, and here's the three of us, 3 NFs here. Dan, are there any NFs that you particularly like out of the NF groups?
Well,
the NF group.
I actually haven't had that much interaction with INFPs, so I can't really talk about them. But both ENFPs and INFJs, always very interesting. You can talk to them, they understand what you're talking about, they understand, how you talk, the examples you use. And generally, I only have good things to say. I mean, the NFs I've met I've gotten along with all of them very well.
I would actually put INFP as a first choice for you if I was your NF matchmaker. I would actually put INFP first for you and INFJ second for you. That's right. And they say NFs are gay. Where are they getting that? Where are they getting that from? It's all. All right, Dave. What about you? What NFs do you particularly like?
ENFPs, ENFJs, preferably. I haven't met too many INFJs.
As women?
As women or men.
Really?
I haven't.
Well, they are rare.
Yeah. Except Good Witch.
That's right. She's one of our fans.
She is fantastic. And
right.
but yeah, in person I haven't met any that I know of. Actually, probably maybe like 1 or 2, but I haven't had much interaction with them. I mean, if they're as cool as me, then I'd say, yeah, they're pretty awesome. But yeah, but I'd have to say those are my 2 top ones because at least it gives me something to listen to, and they're always interesting to talk to, and have conversation with. I mean, if I'm talking, eyes on eyes don't tend to talk a lot. There's not a lot of talking going on. It's kind of like always an awkward silence.
Well, is it a type of awkward silence you're able to communicate effectively with each other, but more on an intuitive level, or is it just kind of like an awkward silence and neither party is able to effectively communicate with each other?
Well, that was wonderfully NF optimistic.
Yeah, that is. But well, I guess if you know them well, then it's an intuitive silence. You don't really have to say much. But if you don't know them, and if you don't know that they're an NF or an INF specifically, that it feels more like an awkward silence than anything else. You're like, oh, maybe I should say something, but I don't know what. And more so than not, they're probably thinking the exact same thing. So, but yeah.
Well, for me, I always, in fact, the vast majority of women I've had any intimate relationships with, long-term relationships with, and even not so long, really have been INFJs and INFPs. They actually show up the most for me, and rightfully so. And I find the relationship with the INFJ is always very good and probably better than the INFP. But I just have to admit that I have some kind of fascination with the INFP person and the INFP personality type. Even though the relationship isn't always as good, I'm always attracted to the human being that is the INFP. There's part of it is just being able to see eye to eye because we're NFPs. We have the 3 functions, and part of it that NFPs are kind of sweetly idealistic in a silly way that I find adorable and attractive in a weird way. It's very much like the moth to the flame with the INFP. Although the INFJ is probably the better relationship for me. For
Thanks,
sure.
Mike.
No, it's true. It's true. I admit that. But there's something about INFPs. I'm fascinated. I can't put them down. I'm addicted.
I think that's our time.
That's right.
All right, so I'm Dave.
And I'm Mike.
And I'm Dan.
That's right.
And we're the Nfgeeks.
And Nfgeeks.
And so, see you later.
Thank you.